So we're going to continue on with cell structure and function. And the last couple of days we've been using the potatoes and cutting different sizes to look at surface area versus volume and how it's a limiting factor for cell size. Our first slide here, you can see that we're going to talk again about surface area and volume and how they are limiting factors for the cell. So as you read, surface area equals the rate at which materials enter and exit the cells. Okay, so when we think about the outside of the cell, we're going to think of it as a rate in which materials can come in and leave the cell. The volume of the cell is going to be the rate in which materials can be made or used. So the chemical reactions that are going on inside the cell. Okay, so if we continue to look here at cell surface area versus volume, okay, as the volume of a cell grows, so as the cell gets larger, the surface area also grows. But what happens is we minimize, so as those numbers grow, the ratio between the two minimizes or decreases. Okay? And as that ratio gets smaller, the substances won't be able to enter the cell as fast enough to fuel the reactions that are occurring. Okay? Or you can think of it as the cell makes more waste, it takes too long to get out of the cell. Okay? As you can see in the picture, the ratio to surface area to volume in the small cube is 6, okay, where the big cube is 1.2. Okay? So we want a large surface area to volume ratio because that means we can allow more things in to fuel the reactions. If our cell is the size of a kitchen table, we can't get enough things into the middle of the cells for these reactions to occur. So as we look at cells, all cells, whether you are a whale cell or a bacteria cell or a skin cell, eyeball cell, all cells have the same 4 parts. They have plasma membranes, okay, which decide what comes in and out of the cell. They hold everything together or into the cell. Then we have ribosomes. Ribosomes are responsible for making proteins, and then the proteins help determine the structure and function of cell. The DNA, all cells have DNA, which is the genetic information. That genetic information then codes for the genes, okay, which genes are turned on and off. Those genes then determine which proteins the ribosomes are going to make. Lastly, all cells have cytoplasm, which is the gooey jello part inside the cell. And all it does is holds everything together. All cells, whether you are a unicellular organism or part of a multicellular organism, all cells have plasma membranes, ribosomes, DNA, and cytoplasm. There are 2 types of cells, right? So even though we have 2 types, each cell you can see has a plasma membrane, the ribosomes, the DNA, and then also the cytoplasm. Okay? Eukaryotes are cells that make up you. Eukaryotes, you. Okay? Animal and plant cells, okay? Eukaryotic cells make up animal and plant cells. They are usually eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cells are usually found in multicellular organisms. They're a little bit more complex, meaning they have more organelles within them. You can see all these little bitty pieces within the cell. And then if we look to the right, we have prokaryotes. Okay, they usually make up single-celled organisms, and they are much simpler. You can see they have the DNA bacteria or DNA material in the middle. They have some ribosomes, cytoplasm, and then also the membrane, and that's about it. So we have 2 types of cells. And we also talked about that no matter if you are eukaryotic or prokaryotic, if you are a cell, or a whale, all living things carry out these 7 functions: metabolism, response, homeostasis, growth, reproduction, nutrition, and defense. Okay? All living things are made up of cells. That's part of the cell theory. So each one of those cells also does this because each cell is a living thing. Smallest unit of life, also part of the cell theory. Lastly, so we've been talking a lot about how cells are all the same, but they're not. Okay? If you look at your body, we have all different types of cells. We have eye cells, we have heart cells, we have ear cells, we have skin cells, we have liver cells. We have all different types of cells. Like, the only difference is the proteins that they are exhibiting. Okay? Each one of your cells has the 46 chromosomes that determine who you are. Those 46 chromosomes have genes within them. Those genes that are turned on will then have proteins made. Those proteins then determine the structure and function of the cell. If specific genes are turned off, then we don't have that same structure and function. Cells become specialized or differentiated by gene expression. So your hair has the protein keratin in it. Okay? You don't want hair growing on your eyeballs, so your eyes do not express the protein or express the gene for keratin in your eyes, so we don't have hairy eyeballs. Okay? As we keep going here, we'll talk a little bit more about cell differentiation, how cells differ between them in multicellular organisms, and next week we'll actually talk a little bit about the 2 different types of cells also.